Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Hymn of the Week. And this week, straight into it, Hubert Parry's Repton, Dear Lord and Father of Mankind. A beautiful piece of music from his oratorio Judith, number 353 in the wonderful New English Hymnal. There's not much to say about this one, other than it's one of the most beautiful hymn melodies ever. But Hubert Parry, actually, Sir, what was it? Cuthbert Hubert Hastings Parry, that was his full name, Sir. He was awarded a baronet as well in the coronation honours for, let me see, who would that have been? Edward VII. Now let's think, Parry was one of those composers that sort of everyone knows him for various things. Jerusalem, the wonderful English anthem Jerusalem, was written by Parry. Blessed Pair of Sirens, I Was Glad, written for the coronation of Edward VII and used at pretty much every other coronation ever since. Yeah, Parry was one of those amazing composers. However, he wasn't actually going to be a composer. He was going to be an insurance agent. He was born into a very wealthy British family. I think his grandfather was a big shot in the East India Company or whatever it was called. And his father inherited all sorts of goodies, and then he eventually inherited all sorts of goodies as well. He actually pretty much gave up music to take over the family estate. They had an enormous estate in Gloucestershire, as far as I remember. And he went on to take over that estate. He was awarded, yes, like I say, in the Coronation Honours 1902, was it? 1902, I think it was 1902. He was awarded a baronetcy. He was a baronet. Gosh, very posh. Yes, so he wasn't one of those penniless musicians like so many others were. He was very well-to-do, very well educated. He went to Eton. Yes, well, in the future, other people went to Eton, but let's not talk about that. But no, in those days, if you went to Eton, you were definitely quite something. He went to Oxford to study law, believe it or not, and eventually studied music. Actually, there was a bit of disgrace in his family as well. His elder brother was disowned by the family. He was a bit of a womanizer, drinker, gambler, and like Sherlock Holmes, into the poppy, as it were. So he was disgraced, and the elder brother went off. I think he went off to live in Paris or something like that. These are the things I remember from my days studying at university. When we studied composers, I was more interested in the people and their upbringings than in the actual music themselves, because let's face it, the music is what influenced them, but they were also influenced by their private lives, so I think this was very important as well. These are the things that stuck in my mind about Parry. And what else do we remember about Parry? It's very interesting. He was one of the first contributors to the wonderful Grove Dictionary of Music and Musicians. Now I've got a copy of the Grove upstairs in the attic, the paperback version, not the proper version. It's all digital nowadays, of course, but I've got the new Grove. I've got an edition of that. But yes, Parry was one of the first contributors to that. And if I remember rightly, Elgar was fascinated by Parry's articles he wrote for the Grove. So there you are. Now let's see. Interesting facts about Hubert Parry. He wanted to have Johannes Brahms as his piano teacher, but Brahms wasn't available. I think that's wonderful. Brahms wasn't available, so he had someone else to be his piano teacher. He was fascinated by the music of J.S. Bach. He wrote many articles on the music of J.S. Bach. He was, I think that was his connection to Wesley. He was Samuel Sebastian Wesley. They knew each other. Wesley was at Winchester Cathedral at that time, if I remember rightly, and Parry would hang around with him and learn things from him, especially about Bach. Very interesting. Let's see. Now, Parry himself was a professor of music at various places. He was also at the Royal College of Music. He was one of the first at the Royal College of Music, as far as I remember. And he's responsible for people like Vaughan Williams. Vaughan Williams studied with Parry, so that says quite a lot. I think John Ireland studied with him as well. If that's didn't Gustav Holst also study with him? So there you are. So the planets, Gustav Holst, definitely influenced by Hubert Parry. There we are. It was Vaughan Williams, Holst, and Ireland, I think, were the three main sort of students of Parry. I think that's right. God, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but I think that was right. Parry was good friends with Stanford, as you might expect. They were sort of drinking buddies, apparently. There you are. There's a good thing. Imagine going out for a drink with Stanford and Parry. That would have been wonderful, wonderful, wonderful stuff. So, yeah, I Was Glad, very famous composition. Blessed Pair of Sirens, hilarious composition for choir and organs and orchestras. Let me see now, his oratorio Judith, from which comes this wonderful melody. Now, the melody is called Repton. Allegedly after the school of the same name. Parry, as far as I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he had any actual connection to Repton. He just called it that for whatever reason. And it's one of the most beautiful hymns in the English hymnal. The words were written by John Whittier, and it's very famous for its beautiful harmonies, and something that's rather wonderful about Hubert Hastings' harmonies. Sorry, let me finish that recording there. I've been recording this in the background the entire time we're speaking. I'm terribly sorry. That's terrible, isn't it? Let me just quickly call this Repton. Technology, ladies and gentlemen. Let me quickly call it that, so it's out of the way. And the thing that's so famous about this piece of music is Parry's use of suspensions. What does suspension mean? Well, it's notes held longer than they should be, and then they resolve into something. So it creates tensions in the harmonies. It's rather beautiful and rather well known for that. So, without any further chit-chat and any further rambling from me, let's get straight into the piece of music Repton. Now, I'm not going to play it as written there. I'm going to play around with it. Of course I'm going to play around with it. But don't worry, all of the harmonies and all of the suspensions will be included in my little rendition of it. I am once again using the organ here in Düren in Germany. In West Germany, over between Cologne and Aachen. Why am I using a German organ for this? Well, Parry was fascinated by German culture and German music. He was dead against the First World War. He was horrified that England went to war with Germany. Absolutely horrified. He died in 1918, but had nothing to do with the war. He died, as far as I remember, he died of heart issues his entire life. I remember that. And I think he died from, didn't he die from the Spanish flu? I think that was right, wasn't it? Wasn't he one of the ones who died from the Spanish flu? Something like that. Anyway, the great pandemic of 1918. I'm sure that's what killed Parry off. But yes, he was absolutely horrified by the thought that Europe should be at war. And devastated. He was a great believer in German culture and European culture. He was one of the first sort of Europeans, like Elgar after him, actually. Elgar was a great German, or a Germanophile. Is that the word? No, it's not the word, but you know what I mean. Elgar loved everything about Germany. He had his honeymoon in the Bavarian Alps, where he wrote a piece of music. That says quite a lot about him, I suppose. Yeah, so there we are. So that's why I have chosen basically an organ in Germany for this performance today. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That was my rendition of Repton. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give us a quick thumbs up on the way past, and actually ring that notification bell as well, because there's a lot of content at the moment. Don't forget, every Tuesday is Hymn of the Week. Every Thursday is Piano Day, so boogie woogie or stride piano or rhythm and blues or ragtime or maybe even some classical piano one day. We don't know yet. At the moment, it's boogie woogie. So that's every Thursday. Friday night is organ music night live. Sunday night is organ music night live. So that's 4 times a week. My goodness me. Become part of the Gartshore gang. You can join us on Patreon. You can join us on Buy Me a Coffee. You can donate something to help support the channel and its work. We do this for a living, ladies and gentlemen, and we are trying our best to create wonderful content for you. And with your continued support, that is becoming ever more possible. So thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.